What are you avoiding? When you find yourself tapped into things because they make you feel good, but after you do those things, or after the high come down, or the drunk go away, or the hot and heavies go away, you didn't, like, what are you left with? What's at the bottom? That residue. And ask yourself, what would happen if I give this to God? What's up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Let It Be the Podcast. I'm your host, Fergie, and if this is your very first time, I just want to say welcome to Let It Be. Let It Be is a podcast all about releasing control and embracing grace. And I'm just excited that you are here, and I hope that this conversation is something that changes your perspective, grows your perspective, but also that you like it and you share it with somebody else you think that might benefit from it. And if you've been joining in with me with Let It Be all this time, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your encouragement. This topic kind of dropped in my spirit when I was in a space. I was in a low space. So I'm going to have to be very transparent when it comes to like temptation and how they lead us. Like they push us to our vices sometimes, and they can lead us down a path of destruction if we're not careful. And so the way that this even came about, so like with my podcast and with this journey, especially in this season is not necessarily, it's like my season of my life, I'll say. It's like, how are you doing a podcast in the midst of like probably one of the craziest seasons of my life? And I honestly, Jesus, like, I don't really know how I'm still able to do this, but God is still speaking to me. And when he drops things into my spirit sometimes, or when I learn something, I'm like, dang, I wonder if this will help somebody else. And so that's what this is all about. So I want to share this, not from a place of judgment, not from a place of I know better, so let me tell everybody, because I still struggle. You know what I'm saying? But I know I'm not the only one that does. And so I was thinking about temporary highs, and that came from a space. One day in particular, I was just having a really rough week. Like, I feel like dealing with like spiritual warfare, when you start to do things and follow God, we are always tempted in like our lowest, most vulnerable spaces sometimes, and especially it's like, man, I'm trying to do things the right way this time. I don't want to go back to my old self. I don't want to, but it's like, but I hate the way I feel. I need something to make me feel good. And I remember in particular, one night I was like probably in the bed, and I think at this point in my life, I don't even really be crying no more. I just be like numb in the bed, looking dumb sometimes. And I felt like I probably wanted to cry, but I ain't had no tears. But I ain't gonna lie, like I was mad. Like I was mad at God. And one thing that I do know is that like God is not afraid of your emotion. He's not afraid of you being upset. Like you don't have to just pretend that like, oh, because God is good and I'm doing what God's asked me to do, that everything's just good. Like, girl, do you feel okay? And like, let's address that. And so in this particular moment that I was in, I was like in the bed, and I was just like, I felt agony. Just like my soul just felt like, I hate this so much. I wish that I could run away and escape it, even if it's like for a little bit. Like, God, like, take your foot off my neck and let me go and breathe, and then I'll come back. But like, I just felt so like angry and low, and I needed something to make me feel good. I wanted something to make me feel good. And I started to think about how like I was craving things that I don't even partake in anymore. And so like I've been very transparent on my podcast. One of my vices used to be, especially when I was in spaces that I'm in like now, like when I would want to numb my emotions or I don't want to feel nothing, I'm like, I need to be inebriated. Okay. I want to get on a cloud and float away. And that's how, and it's like the fact that I even had that thought and I ain't did that in years, it's crazy to me. But that's how it's like the enemy, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later. Like the enemy would come and tempt you when you at your very like the most vulnerable state. It's like, this will make you feel good. Why don't you come back? And I feel like he shows up like that in so many areas of our lives. And so for me in particular, it was just like, man, I just want to, like, I just need the pain to go away a little bit. And I remember just in different seasons of my life when I would be going through hard stuff, I I didn't know how to process it. So instead I just numbed it. So I would go get high or go get a drink or go download what's them little dating apps to be entertained. You know what I'm saying? Like I just needed something to help me get my mind off of whatever I was dealing with. And in particular that day, I was like, man, I don't got trying to be mindful so YouTube don't tag me, but like I ain't got nothing to make me to put me on a cloud and float away. You can pick up what I'm putting down. I ain't got nothing in my house. I don't got no alcohol in my house and my phone is dry. So I was like, man, like I just felt like, God, you just want to sit here and watch me suffer through this. And God was like, or you can just do something different this time. So you know what I did? It's crazy as it sounds, like I picked up my Bible, but that wouldn't have been, I feel like church people would say like, oh, I'm going to pray. It's like, sometimes that don't be your first thought, and like, be honest with yourself. Cause that wasn't I feel like that's been a thing that I have been doing, but it's like, I don't feel like reading. I don't feel like praying. I don't feel like none of that. Like, I just wanted to go. I need to be gratified instantly. That's how I was feeling at that time. But I will say I ain't never just sat down and picked up the Bible and started reading instead of leaning into one of my vices. And so in that moment, it changed my perspective because it's like, oh, I thought that I needed something to numb me, to help me get through this feeling. So I want to pause from that because I feel like so many of us do it unintentionally, and we don't think, because it's a part of our lifestyle, we don't really see it as a vice. It's just, we just living, you know, like, oh, I had a rough day. Like, I'm about to go have a glass of wine and watch TV. Or dang, like, I call it Bertha, like my cycle coming, I'm about to just lay on the couch and eat chocolate all day. You know what I'm saying? Like we look for things to gratify, to make us feel better, even if it's just temporarily. And I'm like, man, I know that I found myself in those situations before I got to this point, because I feel like I'm discovering as I've gotten deeper in my relationship and closer and been more accountable because I've changed certain things in my life, like environment and all those things. And so it's like, but what about when I wasn't in this space, when I was struggling? Like if me now could go back and talk to myself back then, when it's like, hey, instead of running to that man or that temporary pleasure, like, let's do something different. Because like my life, like God gives us free will. Yeah. Like he's still good and he's not going to harm you, but like you will suffer the consequences from your actions. He's not going to take away consequences. Like you got free will and God he's good and he'll work it all out. But like you might have to pay for some decisions that you make when you found yourself in a space of vulnerability, frustration. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that plays a part in all of our journeys. And I think like when you know better, you do better. And so that's the premises of like what this conversation was about. Because I want to talk about temptation, yes, but also vices and how they can like really cause us to, they can cost us our blessings. They can cost us like where God is trying to lead us, what he's trying to do in our lives, because we got to be gratified instantly. And I think about somebody in particular in the Bible. I think a lot of people know the story of David. I'm just going to talk about David because we all know David from he had the smooth stones and he knocked Goliath out, right? But David also had a problem with lust. Women was his weakness. And so in particular, the story when he saw Bathsheba taking a bath and saw her and like, I want her. So he inquired about her, realized like, and I'm bringing up David because with David, like when you start to like, oh, I gotta have, you don't even understand the ripple effect of what that can do to your life. And so like David, he saw her, he inquired about her, found out that she was married, went and found her husband and said, hey, no, before he found out she was married, he still pursued her, got her pregnant, then said, oh no, let's go find her husband. Let's lure her husband back home to sleep with his wife, you know? And he like, bro, like he was at war. Like I'm on front line. I don't have time. Like I'm not here for pleasure. So he refused to sleep with his wife. But David was trying to cover up the consequences of his actions. So he done lured somebody else into this thing. And so the fact that he didn't sleep with his wife. So obviously the baby ain't his. So then David's like, okay, go on back to war. But then he manipulated the situation, put him on the front line and got him killed. And it's just like, you done did all of that because you done had no self-control. You done had no discipline. And I'm like, we can read that story about David, but like, let's look in the mirror. Because for us, it might not be lust it might not be lust. It could be substances. It could be food. And I'll say even for me, because like I found myself even in spaces like seasons like this now, like, okay, I'm abstaining, like I'm sober. But like, you know what I'll do? I'll go to, and I'm so bad. Like I don't necessarily keep snacks and stuff in my house, but if I want it, I'm gonna go get it. It's just like, well, I just need to feel numb. And so sometimes we'll make those bad decisions. And it's like now, like I don't have it, but I need to be gratified so much. I need to feel good so much that I'm going to get up, get in my car, go. And it's like, it's like a ripple effect. And so it's like, it might not necessarily look the same for everybody, but like think about an area in your life where maybe you are uncomfortable. And instead of leaning into that pain or that agony or that discomfort, I'm going to lean into a space that'll make me feel good so I ain't got to think about it. And I feel like a lot of times, I think about this a lot, especially when I used to like get high, to be honest. I know people who stay high all day long. Like you wake and bake because you need to be numb. I need to take a drink before I got to take a shot before I go do this. Or I need to go and roll up before I can start my day. And it's like, bruh, like you want to, like, how can you exist the whole day on a cloud? So it's like, what's the root of it? Like, what are you running from? What are you trying to numb? What are you trying to escape from? Because I feel like sometimes, like I said earlier, we do things and we just think it's just a part of our lives, but it's something that's rooted a little bit deeper. What are you trying to get numb from? Why do you like, for me, I'll say like wanting to, like, I'm sad now, I'm about to just go eat all these snacks or whatever. But it's like, I be in the gym every day. So now how you going to work out tomorrow? You can't even breathe because you done stayed up all night. Your stomach hurt because I done stayed up and ate chips and candy and all this. It was like, because I needed to be satisfied instantly, because it's like everything is always connected to something deeper. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we don't realize that. Like, what have I been like? I thought this was just a part of my lifestyle. This is just what I do. Like, I had a rough week, so I'm gonna reward myself. Let's go to the bar. Let's get, And so I'm like, God was like, okay, now that you don't have those things to distract you, I don't have those desires. And okay, like I'm not saying I'm perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like there's still things that I struggle with. Like, for instance, I found myself leaning on food. But I've had to pay for that now, like for me binge eating, I've had to pay for my skin. I'm not as active as I was in the gym for a moment of time because I kind of I got distracted, and I kind of like, it just causes a ripple effect to my life. And I didn't think that one little decision will open up more things, just like David. So like, even with David, like going back to the Bible story, she ends up giving birth, but then the baby died. And it's like so many things that happen all from that one decision that you made. So I just want to pause as I'm like talking about myself and David. I probably feel like I'm all over the place, but what's an area in your life that you find yourself like, think about it like a common area. It's like, oh, I'm going to reward myself, or not even reward myself, but like, I need this to get through, or like, I'm going through a rough moment right now. So I need this to escape that feeling, And so for me, a lot of times, like I was looking for things like when I wanted to get out of my reality because I didn't like the reality that I was in, I would go to other things. And so this one particular time, I started to read in the Bible, and I was like looking up other people who have faced temptations like that, and like how to like, or will get caught up in their vices, and how it could deter them from becoming or going, and like it could deter them from who God intended them to be or what God was trying to do because they needed to gratify their flesh so much. And so like Esau was another one that I thought about. Esau was a twin, and he traded his birthright for food because he was hungry instantly. And so he was manipulated. Yeah. But it's like, okay, well, sell me your birthright and I'll feed you. And it's just like temporarily I needed to be satisfied. And I done gave up my whole, like the whole promise that God gave me from the very beginning. And it might not be as dramatic as you giving up your birthright, but is there an area in your life where you feel like, well, God, I just need it now. I don't want to wait for you to do it for me. I need you to give this to me now. I need to be fulfilled now. For me, I'll make it practical. Because we have decisions, we have free will to do whatever it is. But I can say, okay, God, I know that you told me to wait for this, but I don't want to wait for you to give me a job. I mean, or I don't want to wait for you to provide for me. I'll speak for me personally. Like, I don't want to wait for you to provide for me like you said you were. I'm about to go and change my career because I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how long I'm going to be in pain, and being in this part of being in pain, I'm tempted to do other things. And so, you know what, instead of me leaning into you or getting to know you more, or what you say about, this season of my life, or like looking to see if anybody else in the story, which everything that we go through it's in the word anyway. Somebody else has experienced the same thing that you've experienced. And so for me, I think about that a lot, where I've compromised what God was trying to do in a space of temporary discomfort for me, and I couldn't take it. And so if I would distract myself or go out and try to make my own plans and do things my own way. And I think about that, like this job that I had. God told me, like, okay, this is the plan that I have for you. You're going to go and be in ministry. And because I had such a hard time accepting that reality for myself, I was like, okay, God, I'll do this and that. And so I gave God a sprinkle of my yes, but I didn't have full dependence on him. And so I needed to go and satisfy myself, because thinking logically, like, I have bills to pay. I need this. I need to work. I need to X, Y, and Z. And for a long time, I was trying to do it my way, and it never worked out like I wanted. But like I was saying, me not trusting God in this uncomfortable space, I needed to go off and do it myself. And I feel like vices, sometimes they can be a tangible things like sex, drugs, money, all those things, but it could also be, my vice is gratifying myself. And so I'm going to go and work because that's what I know how to do. And so not necessarily, I don't want to say I'm disobedient, because looking for work and working is not a bad thing, but it's a bad thing if you're outside of God's will for whatever he's trying to do in the season. And so being in a space of temptation and discomfort, it's like when we are in a vulnerable space, we're tempted by any means to go and make it better, or go and and we want to go distract ourselves from the pain. And so it's like, if I can't fix it, at least now I can't get a job. So now I'm about to just go drink, or I'm about to just go smoke, or I'm about to just go pout, or I'm about to just go, you know what I'm saying? It's like God is trying to do something in that vulnerable space, because I'll speak for myself, like in the space that I'm in, I feel very vulnerable, but God is showing me who he is, all of his names, not just Jehovah Jireh, my provider, but he's showing me him as my peace, as my father, as my friend. But I think that I've been in a season, I feel like in a wilderness season, and though like it has sucked a whole lot, and I haven't leaned on my old vices, but I found myself looking for pleasures, which have been temporary, because it's still like, after I've gone out and tried to do things my own way, I've still got back to a space where like, but I'm back here again. It's like, make it go away, And so like, I found myself, like I said, even not being able to escape it long term. It's like, dang, now I got to just lean into this space, and I hate it, and I'm kicking and screaming. So I'm not going to act like every day is just like, oh, I'm just on fire for the Lord, and I'm just reading my Bible because I'm set. It's like, I think a lot of pretenders will tell you that, but like, I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes it's like, dang, I need something strong to take this pain away. Okay. And so it's like, well, God, what do I do now? Especially, I feel like being in this place that I'm in, where after everything that I've tried is not working, like trying to do it the right way. And then the enemy is coming to try to like tempt me to do it. Like, well, why won't you just go get a drink of wine? Like, God ain't going to send you to hell. But God told me to be sober. But again, like, and I think I shared this on my podcast before. My sobriety came, God told me in 2023 that I was going to be sober the following year. And I'm like, why? I don't only drink socially. Like, I don't drink heavy. I'm not like, I don't take shots. I don't do none of that stuff. But God told me like, okay, well, you're not drinking at all next year. And I was mad until I went, this is so personal. I went to the doctor, and the doctor, I had like my annual blood test and all of that. And so my results came back, and they're like, hey, your blood count is low. I'm like anemic, and I didn't know that. But I also had, something was affecting like my liver. And I'm like, I'm too young to have like health problems, but the doctors was like, so you like drinking probably is not going to be a good idea for you. This is like the start of the year. I don't think I had even had a drink at this point, but I was instantly convicted because God was like, I already told you that you was going to be sober. But because, like, in case you needed another, I feel like God did that because that's honestly, God's word should have been enough for me to say, okay, I'm not going to do it. But it wasn't. I'm not going to lie. I was like, man, a glass of wine ain't going to hurt. But when they told me like my liver not functioning properly, I'm like, bro, I'm only 30 something years old. So that made me like, I'm sorry, God, because he had already told me. Either way, that's why like I hadn't leaned into that to like, okay, well now I can't just take the edge off with a drink. But it's forced me to lean in deeper with God. Like I said, like I was saying, like him showing me his names and showing me all the things that he's trying to teach me. But I wouldn't have been able to think clearly if I had been drinking this year or that year. Well, I haven't had a drink since 2023. But if I would have been drinking, I didn't know everything that I was going to go through, because I promise you, I would have been in here laid out on the couch. I wouldn't have been thinking about no podcast. I wouldn't have been thinking about reading my Bible because I would have been too drunk to take my pain away. And I think a lot of us unintentionally will lean into those vices to help us because we're running away from something. And so I guess just sharing all of that, because I want you to ask yourself, like, what is it that what's your go-to when you feeling away? Is it, and it might not be drugs. It might not be food. It could be lust. It could be gossip. It could be going to the parties. It could be, like, what is it? Like, assess yourself. Like, what has God been trying to, like, maybe God has been trying to get your attention, but he ain't got no room because you're too tapped into yourself. What make you feel good? Or it's just a part of your life, just a part of your lifestyle. Now, like, I'm not saying it's wrong to have a good time, like however you define good, I'm not saying those things. Like, your convictions lie within yourself, but I'll say, think about an area in your life that you are more hyperfixated on doing these things because of whatever it is that you're experiencing, because you're in a space of temptation, right? Like, you are in a vulnerable space and you've been I wanted to talk to somebody because I was lonely. It's like, well, is a season of loneliness or isolation? God don't want us to be isolated like by ourselves, no, but he also doesn't want you to be wrapped into the wrong crowd that's leading you to do things that are opposite of like who he is. That's like me saying like, okay, like God told me that I wasn't supposed to drink, and I'm going to go to the bar and hang out with my friends. Like, they want to go to the bar every Friday. It's like, but like that space is not conducive to like what God told me that I can't be doing. So like, why would I put myself in that environment? And it's not that like you have to look at people like, because you don't have to, it's no judgment if that's what they're doing. But my conviction lied within myself, where God told me, hey, this is what we're not doing that in this season. Find something else like more productive to lean into, And so I think that comes for you having wisdom and discerning, like, okay, this is what I normally did when I was in that space of vulnerability, or I'm sad and I just need something to feel better. But like, what can you do different this time instead of like leaning into that? And like David just had a heart issue. He just had a lust issue anyway. So for him, he needed to gratify himself. And so he saw the woman that he wanted and he went after it, and he had consequences, and other people's lives were affected by that because he didn't have no self-control. And so even if your issue is lust, I'll say for me, like I am abstaining. I've been abstaining for a very, 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 very long time. Okay. I have, but the only way I've been able to stay focused and not leaning into that temptation is because I don't put myself in those environments. I don't entertain people that are not in line with my lifestyle. With my lifestyle, I'm a believer. I have like, there's certain boundaries that I have that I'm not willing to cross because of where I'm going. Now I have a clarity, I have a focus, I have an intention that I've never had before. But you know how I get there? Because I stay diligent. And my yes is my yes and my no is my no. I don't temper on the line with that. And I'm not saying that I am holier. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I am abstaining, but I am not blind. Okay. But I have to check my heart. I have to guard my gates, the things that I listen to. I love Trey songs. I did before all the weird stuff started happening. Like, I love his music. When I found my old iPod, and I'm like, well, no wonder why I was living the way I was living, because look at what you're listening to. But the Bible, when it talks about guarding your gates, it's like, I know that, like for you, I'll say, for example, like if lust is a weakness of yours, why are you watching shows full of sex and hot and heavy scenes and nasty conversations? Like, why are you listening to music that's talking about that and you trying to not lean into that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to abstain, but the music that I listen to is all about gratifying the flesh. Make that make sense? I had to delete playlists off my phone. I had to unfollow people on Instagram. Because, you know what I'm saying? It's like, don't play with temptation so much that you think you can overcome it. Oh, it's just one little drink. Oh, it's just one text message. I ain't seen him in a while. It's like, that's where the enemy like to get you. That one little area of compromise. And like we talked about with David, like, it can cause you, like, God is still good. He's still faithful. And I'm not saying he's going to throw you away because you leaned into it. But what I am saying is that you will suffer the consequences of your actions by gratifying your flesh. When I was doing, like, reading about this, I was thinking about even Solomon. He had a woman issue. He had 400 wives, 700 wives, and 300 concubines, all them women. Why you got to have all of them? It's like your devotion is to everything but God, the wisest man. Okay. I'm like, so we're not alone in our temptations. We're not alone. And even if you made this, like, even if you are caught up in your temptations and you get caught slipping, it's like, just like David did the most, but God still used him. We talk about him today. So I'm not saying you are beyond repair. You're not beyond use if you fall. We're all going to fall. But I think that the wisdom comes in like, okay, now that I have fallen, what can I do different this time? I think that's where you have to learn how to be wise and make the right choices. Because if I know that God is trying to draw me closer to him, and I'm in a season right now where I hate the way I feel, so I'm trying to do everything that I can to fix it and make it better, and it's not making it better. And so because my disobedience is trying to fix this on my own, but only God can fix it. Now I'm just sitting here mad. So it's like, are you going to eat your life away, or are you going to pause and like tap into what is God trying to say? Who else in the Bible has dealt with the same thing? And it's just distractions show what temptation or vices and all those things are just distractions. And they show up in so many areas of our lives where we have normalized them. And it's not a bad thing. But in the Bible, when it talks about like you have to renew your mind because you're in the world, you're not of the world. So you have to renew your mind. So like maybe I've been used to doing these things for so long, but now I need something different because the things that I've done have not given me the results that I desire. And I think that that's where wisdom comes in. So God, now like, this doesn't work for me, because think about the cycle that it is. Like, I done had a rough week all week. Now I'm at to go and have a drink. Get through the weekend, have a great week. Now I got a rough week. So it's like I'm doing the same thing over and over, and it's not fixing itself. Or I'm just going to stay high so I don't got to think about my feelings. Like, what you running from? I think like society I think we talk a little bit more about therapy now. And I'll be transparent. Like, I struggle in therapy with vulnerability. I struggle in life. Like I'm a very transparent person, but I'm not super, super vulnerable. Like I'll tell you a lot, but when it comes to like going deep about my feelings and all that, now you in my business too much. You know what I'm saying? And I struggle in therapy with that because it's hard for me. But my therapist made a point to me recently. She just was saying like, what good is it? Like, okay, we can acknowledge what this did, and oh, this is how it made me feel. But then you don't want to go deep in it, because now I felt like I found myself, the reason why being in such a vulnerable, tempting space, why I was like leaning or desiring old things that I used to want to make me feel good, is because I couldn't run from it no more. And so God was asking me, so like, what can we do this time that looks different from the way, like before when I would get too deep in my feelings, it's like now I need to go get high so I can numb them because they about to come up. And it's like, oh, I'm afraid for them to come up. And so that's why we stay distracted and caught up in our vices because, oh, I'm lonely. I just need to go have somebody around. I don't care if they ugly. I don't care if they ain't got no good spirit. I just need somebody to talk to. So I'm finna just be entertained, get on one of them apps and just be entertained. It's like, what are we running from? And like, I'm not saying this like I done mastered it because I'm still like, my vices look different this time around, but it's like, oh, you're running, you busy. Busyness is also a vice. And I also that because like I said, maybe my vices aren't what they were, but it's like, well, maybe if I just fill my schedule up, let me go and call this person. Let me go and do this. God told me to come and sit with him, but sitting with him make me feel my heart too tender. I don't feel like being that way. Let me go and just talk to somebody else to see if I can help them. And God is like, that's still a vice. Vice is anything that is like, it causes a temporary, I wrote it down, things that give you a quick high, but it leaves us feeling empty. So I can spend up all my time when God is like, hey, I just need this time for me and you to have some devotion. But instead of me like not wanting to, it's like I'm running away from the thing that I'm afraid of, which is to actually be really tenderhearted and tell God like how painful this season is for me that you are ignoring my efforts and it's like you making me suffer. But it's like God ain't making me suffer, but it's like sit with God so he can reveal whatever he's trying to teach me. But instead, it's like, I'd rather be distracted so I ain't got to deal with it. Oh, the day is over. All right, God, I'll talk to you in the morning. It's just like, okay, well, I guess I'll be here when I feel like God is like, I'll be here when you're ready to talk about it. But I noticed that like being in this space, it's like, it's a space that I've been wanting to run and escape. And so, no, maybe I'm not leaning into certain things that I used to, but I've just replaced them with other things that are not necessarily, I mean, I could probably try to make myself believe that they're better, but it's still like I'm avoiding what God is trying to come after. So again, I'm going to ask you, like, what are you avoiding? When you find yourself tapped into things because they make you feel good, but after you do those things, or after the high come down, or the drunk go away, or the hot and heavies go away, like, what are you left with? What's at the bottom, that residue? And ask yourself, what would happen if I give this to God? Instead of trying to do it my own way, what would happen if I talk to God about me feeling lonely so he can be my friend, so he can be my comforter? And it sounds cheesy probably, and it sounds like, what do that even mean? I ain't gonna lie, like I'm still learning. I'm still learning because I was so used to like I said, I replaced one thing for another, but it's like, okay, now God has like completely set me down. And I mean, though, like I still have a lot of things that I'm doing, but it's in the quiet places when I'm like, I feel the most vulnerable. And it's like, I don't want to. Let me just try to sleep. Let me try to eat. Let me try to something to make me feel good. Because like, God, you asking for something that I'm not willing to give right now. But it's because I'm scared. And like, God, and tell God that I'm scared to be vulnerable with you guys. I don't really know how to be vulnerable. My vulnerability has been taken and weaponized. And so it's like, I put everybody in this box where I'll be transparent. But now you trying to get to my heart for real, you in my business, God, like step back. And so like, that's a space that in this space of temptation that I've been in, like this vulnerable space, and I've been tempted to pick up other things to distract me from what I'm actually feeling. And I realized it's like I came to a head like, hey, I'm still running. The fact that I know it because the fact that I even thought about, man, like, where can I go and get some CBD? Like, girl, what is wrong with you? Like, and I'm just like, but the reason, and I'll say this, the real reason why I stopped smoking, it wasn't because it was a sin. It wasn't because I know it was wrong. It's because I felt like an addict. I felt like every time I'm sad, I need this. It's like, piss me off today. Let me go get a drink. Let me go. And I started to lean on those things more than God. That was scary to me because I was like, this is literally how the people that we see on the street, we can judge them, but you don't know how they got to that point. And so it's like, girl, you ain't no different. Like, Every time you feeling stressed out, don't nobody understand me. I just need to go and roll up. I'm finna go sit out. I'm gonna take a gummy because don't nobody understand. I just need to numb this so I can think. I'm gonna process my thoughts by myself, you know? And it's like, okay, since you know everything, go ahead and do that. And every time the high will go away or the buzz will go away, I'm still left with the residue. And it just doesn't do anything. Or every time now I'm lonely, so let me just go, and I done wasted my time making somebody think that I like them, and I don't. And I done gave you my number, you know what I'm saying? I'm not putting this on me, but just in general, it's like, we need to go, and I got an itch that needs to be scratched. You picking up what I'm putting down. And then once that's over and done, it's the worst decision you done made. I can't believe I gave myself to this person. I can't believe I done gave you my time, my energy. I done let you into my sacred space. It's like, okay, what are you running from? Or what do you need? Not even running. What do you need? What are you yearning for? And you giving other things the place that God is trying to fill in your heart. I think my last guest talked about this. Like, it's like we have a God-sized hole in our heart. And so we'll fill them with other things that will satisfy us temporarily. And God is just like, if you just give it to me, if you just give me the space to enter in to help you, I can show you. And I get it. Like, I didn't understand, like, being on this side of an understanding that wouldn't have made sense to me before. Because it's not like I'm doing anything bad. Nobody's saying drinking is a sin. But what is a sin is you putting things above God, making things an idol. That's a sin. When God is like, hey, I need you. I'm trying to talk to you. I need you to lock in with me here. But you can't do that because everything else is in the way of him. Like, making things an idol, that's a sin. And so I'm not trying to come at you like I got it all figured out, like I do everything the right way. But what I will say is that I've tried just about everything, and nothing has fulfilled me in the way that I needed. It was never enough. And so whatever that is in your life, wherever you are, and even if you do have residue or consequences from your decisions, God can still make a way for you. I think David is the perfect example because David did the most, but he was a man after God's heart, and God used him in such a mighty way. So you're not too far gone because you have given into temptation, or you have, needed to satisfy yourself in so many ways. God's purpose will still be done in your life. So you're not far beyond repair. But I think that what I can say is being in today, hearing this message, whenever this finds you today, what can you do differently this time? Instead of running back to the same thing that broke you, you're looking for it to heal you, and it won't. It's because I'm telling you, ain't no relationship will ever fulfill you the way God can. And it don't matter what people say they are, what because the enemy shows up in ways that's the most desirable for you. It's like, nobody's saying a relationship is bad, but what's the fruit of the person? Nobody's saying that drinking is bad, but drunkenness is a sin. So if you need something to take your mind off of being coherent and being able to okay, do God still have an opening, a connection with you? Because anything that you put in the place of him is an idol, and that is sin. Because the Bible says you can have no gods over me. And so I'm just asking you, as I've assessed myself, and thought about all the areas that I run to for comfort, that I run to for instant gratification because I don't like the space that I'm in and I just need something else to numb it. Could it be God is inviting you to lean into him? So I'm just saying, if you take nothing else, because I feel like I was kind of all over the place with this episode, but if you take nothing else from what I shared, I just want you to know that sometimes that discomfort is an invitation. It's God saying, hey, will you lean into me this time? I know you've done those things in the past, or I know this is what you normally do, but let's do something different this time. And I'm telling you this because as I was being in this season, it's full of highs and lows. I'm grateful, all the things, but it's made my heart so tender. And I think a big part of that is because I don't have distractions like I used to, because I'm in a season of pruning. And so God has taken my taste away for a lot of things, a lot of people. My focus is so different now. And when I found myself sinking into a space where I feel like I don't have no control, and it's like, I need something to comfort me. I need something because like, God, just let me take a break from you. Like, I'll come back. It's just like, are you willing to jeopardize all that God is doing because you need to be satisfied? Because you don't like the way it feels. But instead of leaning into the one who can make me whole, I got an itch that I need to be scratched. I need to escape. I want to go float on the cloud. I need to be numb. And it's just like being numb. In hindsight, it's like, it's stupid. I can't put it no other way, because it's like, I needed to numb myself so I didn't deal with the root. And the thing about a root is, if you don't deal with it at the root, it's always going to show up in some way. So I'm just saying, I want you to like think about this and assess in your life, like, what have you been putting in the place of God? And you'll know it's in the place of God, like, because can His Spirit dwell there in that space? Are you the most useful? Useful meaning, like, can God have a conversation with you and it's fluid? Because God is not a God of, like, He's not here to condemn you. Conviction and condemnation are two different things. Condemnation comes from the enemy. So the enemy will probably make you feel like, oh, you too messed up. Listen, like, or even as I'm having this, even as I'm saying all these things, the enemy could probably be in your mind like, see, you drinking, you drinking right now. You don't deserve to be in God's presence. You're not useful. And those are things that the enemy will try to make you believe that you're too far gone. But I promise you, those are just lies. Because like literally today, right now, you can change. You can say right now, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself. I'm not smoking this week. I'm going to fast from sex. I'm going to fast from whatever. I'm not eating no sugar. Like whatever your main thing is, because everybody's vices look different. But if you challenge, I would just want to drop this, like, challenge yourself to abstain from one of those things. And in turn, replace that with quiet time with God, or replace that with doing something more conducive to your lifestyle. Instead of me going, like, one thing that, like, because the space that I was in, I really just didn't have the energy to, like, do everything that I was doing. But something that I replaced when I start to feel low, when I start to feel sad, I'm like, oh, I just need something, like, I need something sweet. Or I need some chips. Like, I started to research, like, why do we crave certain things when we feel in certain ways? I replace those things when I'm starting to feel that way. I be going on walks now. And I feel like, is it because I'm getting older? I don't know. But I love a good walk. I be outside in nature walking, okay? I done found me a hiking trail. I be walking. And it's like, I'm glad that I didn't go get something sweet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just be feeling so much better. And it sounds like that's stupid, but try it. I'm just saying, walk away from this, like, whatever it is that's on your heart, like, walk away from this thinking about what can you replace a vice with this week? Just start with a week and see how your life feels different. And also know that, like, Jesus is not a man that is unrelatable to us, because the enemy did the same thing. In the Bible, I think it's in Matthew 4. It says the Spirit led Jesus to the wilderness so that he can be tempted by Satan. And when I was reading that the other day, I'm like, why would God want him to go and be tempted? And as I was reading more, I'm going to look at my notes too. But as I was reading more, I'm like, it's because we don't serve a high priest that just sits high and look low and he don't understand what we going through. Like, God, he's had to face temptation too, because it says that he was fasting for 40 days after he got baptized. He was led by the Spirit to the wilderness. The Holy Spirit, God led Jesus into the wilderness to be tempted. And he was hungry. He was weak physically. And he was very, very vulnerable. And that's when Satan showed up. And just like you could probably be in a space where I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, I'm confused. And that's when the enemy show up, like, text them. Like, or you ain't talked to so-and-so in so long and they texting you when I'm sad, you know? It's like the enemy, he looks for those little bitty areas, them little bitty compromises. Hey, what about this? It's going to always show up when you are at your most vulnerable, or I'm angry, or it's like, especially like I'm angry. It's like, oh, give me an opportunity to showcase my anger. Like, of course, that's what he's going to tempt you in those areas. And just like Jesus, the enemy said to Jesus, like, if you're the son of God, turn these stones into bread. And that's instant gratification. And I talked about that earlier. His appetite. And so Jesus responded to him and said, and you can read all this in the Bible. It says, man shall not live on bread alone, but every word that comes from the mouth of God. And he was quoting scripture to Satan. And then he said, the enemy, temptation, will throw yourself down from the temple to prove that you're God. And that's also pride. So sometimes, like in that vulnerable space, your temptation can show up as, okay, I'm prideful in this area. But Jesus said, do not put the Lord your God to the test. You don't have to test God. And then he said, bow down and worship me, and I'll give you the kingdoms, all the kingdoms of the world. And it's like a power, a shortcut. So as I was talking about how David was tempted and he led into his temptation and it cost him so much more, Jesus is the example of like how you can abstain, because the Bible also says that he will always provide a way out. So you think about an area like he always does this. Like, I was about to do such and such, but then you called me. I was about to go here and then this happened. Oh, I got stopped at this red light. Then I thought about something differently. God said, like, he'll always provide a mean of escape for us. And so I think about that sometimes when I'm like, dang, I was about to go and do something that I probably shouldn't have did. And a lot of times we be ignoring them. We be ignoring them little means. Like sometimes it could be like, I'm going to say, this is just a real example. The other day I wanted something. I wanted to go get something to eat. This is so crazy, and I don't know what this is going to open up, but I'm just going to say it. Like, I wanted some food, and it was really, really late at night. But I'm like, I ain't got to eat a lot, but, like, I just need something. I just want to feel good, you know? And that became a vice that I've been fighting, trying not to pick back up, trying not to, like, lean into. But I had went to this restaurant, and they didn't have what I wanted. It was just, like, something fried and late. And I'm like, dang, they ain't got it. You know what I did? I drove 15 minutes to the next location to try to get what I wanted. And so then I go in there. It's like, so like I said, temptation can show up in so many ways, but God will always provide a means of escape, because they didn't have what I wanted at that place. But instead of me being like, you know what, just go home, drink some water, I said, I'm just going to go to the location that's closer to my house. You know what happened when I went to the location in my house? I went there and there was a lot of stuff going on. And I ain't going to lie, it was like when I went into the restaurant, because it was like oh man, I just don't want people to take this and clip it. Anyways, it was like a Indian restaurant. And when I went in there and I was about to order the food, and I looked and I saw this statue, and it looked like they were like feeding an altar. I walked inside the restaurant about to get what I wanted, and I looked at that, and I'm like, it made me feel a way. I just felt like, now I'm questioning if I ever go in there again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it was a festival. I have no idea what it was. All I know is when I saw that, it disturbed me so bad. I didn't get it. Like, I ended up just coming home and doing what I should have did before, instead of wasting gas and wasting time. But I think that it's just in those little moments. You probably wouldn't have thought like, oh, that's an escape. But God is saying, first of all, you don't need to be spending no money. And two, it's late. And just go home. Just go home. And so, like, again, this is the vice that I'm fighting right now, and God provided that mean of escape for me. Think about it the next time you find yourself in a situation and somebody happened to call when you was on your way to go do something that you probably shouldn't have done. Or I wanted to roll up, but I ain't had no shelves. That could be God. Listen, that was my vice, okay? That could be God like, hey, yeah, not tonight. Try something different this time. That's the only thing I'm saying. Like, just try something different this time. Because I know I kind of jumped, but like, Jesus is a perfect example of, like, he fought against him. He didn't let the enemy tempt him. Like, he didn't fall into it. He did something different. Because he shows us that temptation can be resisted. And it's not by willpower. It's just by standing on God's word. And so the enemy, Jesus fought back with the enemy with the word of God. And so there's so many examples of people who you can see who leaned into their temptation for instant gratification. There's so many examples that you can find in there, but I just want you to think about that the next time you are tempted to lean into a vice, something that God is like, hey, you know that, like, you low-key know this ain't right anyway, but you doing it because it's what you always doing. I want you to walk away from this long, sporadic conversation thinking about the next time you are in a very vulnerable space, do something different. That's the biggest thing that I want you to take from this conversation, because vices are, I'm going to read this note that I wrote. It says, vices are designed to be a distraction. If the enemy can distract you with pleasure and self-fulfillment, then he can keep you away from becoming the person or the version of yourself that God wants you to be. And most of us see temptation as a bad thing, but I see it as an opportunity for us. Temptation is bad, but you ain't got to lean into it because you're stronger. You're smarter. Like, you don't have to do the same things you're used to doing because you do them all the time. Do something different this time. We all are growing. We don't have to stay the same. We don't have to stay bound to, this is how it's always been. This is what I always do. I always wake and bake. I always go get a drink on Friday to reward myself. I always eat cake at 10 o'clock at night. Like, let's do something different just this one time and see how it changes the way you think, first of all. See how it changes the way you feel. Another thing that I wrote is, like, temptation robs us not because God's plan disappears, but because we exchange pieces of our destiny for a temporary comfort, secrecy, or compromise. Like Esau, we'll risk selling our inheritance, or like David, we'll risk staining our testimony, because David's story, like he wrote so much of the Bible is because of David. So, like, God can still use you in amazing ways. So don't think that you're too far gone because of what you've done in the past. But where wisdom comes in is, like, today, you can make a decision to turn, to do something different. Know that you serve a God who also understands what it means to resist temptation, because he was tempted in so many ways to show himself prideful, to show himself, like, God was like, listen, it was a process. And I'm so thankful for Jesus. Like, I understand the gift of Jesus Christ so much more. God, I was reading this the other day, like, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, so that those who believe in him would not perish but have everlasting life. I'm probably messed it up verbatim, but when I think about that, God loved the world. When it was time for Jesus to be sacrificed on the cross, Jesus was stressed out. He was sweating blood. And he said, hey, God, is there another way? Nonetheless, not my will, thy will be done. But Jesus was like, bruh, like, is there another way that we can do this? But he's like, I love you. God thought about us way back then. He thought about you way back then and said, hey, I need this sacrifice, because they might believe in you. They need to see your life, because Jesus is an example. He's God in the flesh. He's an example that everything that we experience, he's already been there, already done it. He knows, he understands. And so, saying all of that to say, like, I want you to know that we are not alone in our struggles, that temptation, vices, they look different for all of us. But the root behind it it's all rooted in the same thing. And it's distraction. It's the enemy trying to, like, getting you when you're vulnerable, causing you to get off your rocker. So I'm just saying all this to say, like, God understands. He loves you still. He wants to do great things in your life through you. But what I'll say is that if you are so full of yourself and your own, and gratifying your own flesh, and you're living on your own will and your own way, there's no space for God to do what he wants to do. So don't give up your birthright because you're so caught up in I want to have. This makes me feel good. I'm in pain right now. It's like, God knows. Like do it with him. Do it with him. Partner with God, with Jesus Christ, with the Holy Spirit. Partner with him. Walk with him. Don't try to do it your own way, because I promise you, like, I feel like I bumped my head so many times in so many different areas because I hated my discomfort so much that by any means, I'm going to numb myself. I'm going to fix the problem. I'm going to go about my own way. I'm going to disappear. I just want to be distracted a little bit. Then I'll come back. But it's like, hey, you can do hard things. So whatever that looks like in your life, I just want you to take some time to assess. I wrote down some questions because, like I said before, I journal pretty much every day. And sometimes like journaling starts off with a question. I have a thought and it's like, how can I answer that? Like, what is the goal that I have? So just a couple of things that I want you to like do some self-evaluation is to write down, like, what is your go-to when you feel triggered? What helps you release or relax? Like, what's your go-to? Just think, it ain't got to be the right answer. Just what is it? And then when you think about that, think about what the alternative is. What can you do differently? Instead of leaning into, oh, it's not that bad. It's just a little cake. It's just a little, I only hit the blunt twice. Like, I only had a glass of wine. It's like, okay, that's what you're used to doing. But what is an alternative to this? Another thing that you got to really, really consider is, what kind of community do you have? And I can't stress that enough, because if I know that I don't want to drink, I don't want to do sex, I don't want to do all these things that's not good for me, what kind of environment are you in? And is it conducive to your goals? I know that I'm trying to keep my thoughts pure, my body pure. So I ain't listening to sex me down music, okay? I probably sound old saying that, but I don't listen to that music no more. I don't know what the new kids is doing and singing no more, because I don't want to be in that environment, because I'm trying to do something different this time. And if I think that the Bible says, in 1 Corinthians 10:13, no temptation has overtaken you. God will always provide a means of escape. He will, but use wisdom. You ain't got to accept every invite. You ain't got to answer every phone call. You don't got to answer every text message. Like, sometimes we make our own selves suffer because we dumb enough to keep taking the bait. I'll just say it. We be dumb enough to keep taking the bait. And so think about the community that you have. Think about, like, the community that you have, is their lifestyle pulling you closer to Jesus or further away? Is it pulling you into your temptations more or further away? Just think about the environment, the atmosphere. Can the Holy Spirit dwell in that space? Will God be in here kicking it with you? And does it, like, not the God that you done made up in your head, but the God of the Bible? Can he be in that space where you're in right now? And he can invite it in and change it. I'm not saying God's word is not strong enough to change it, but I'm asking you to use wisdom and discernment. And you know what I'm talking about. So don't try to justify it. But think about, like I said, do they encourage your behavior? Do they influence you? And how does it line up with the word of God? And vices, they show up in so many different ways. So I'm just asking, like, as you journal, as you think about everything that I shared, like, how does that show up in your life? What do you need to surrender to God? Like, do you want to get, like, closer to him? And so in order to get closer to him, you're going to have to let some things go. And I'm only sharing this because it's something that I'm actively walking through, because I have not arrived at a place just because I'm the person that's talking about the Bible and all these things. Great. Love it. But there's still areas in my heart. Like, I'm not as great. I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, yeah, I mastered this or nothing. Let me go tell y'all because y'all are doing the wrong thing. Because no, I might not be rolling up no more, but I'll be eating cake at night. So make it make sense. Like, I'm no better than nobody else. And so I'm just saying, like, I'm convicted of the same thing. And so as I'm walking to surrender just even deeper in this journey and not leaning into my frustrations and my pains and my temptations, like, I just want you to think about, like, what can you do different? I'm asking myself the same thing. I know for me, like I said, one day, instead of me just being angry and, or crying or woe is me, I just started looking up stories in the Bible, other people who felt the same, who dealt with the same thing. How bad did it get for them when they kept doing the same thing over, when they didn't lean into God and they leaned into their temptation more? Because temptations are just distractions and they're a ripple effect. And so, I don't know. I just we got to make better decisions. I think that we have gotten to a point to where we just okay in our mediocrity. We had a guest speaker a couple of weeks ago at our church, and he was talking about us, like, as a lot of us as believers, we float on the top of, like, I ain't sinning. We float like this. There's no progress. It's just like, I'm above the sin level, but look how close you are to it. Not that it's bad, but, like, do you want to stay there? Or do you want to grow? I just feel like especially my audience, like, let's be accountable. We don't got to keep doing the same things over and over. We can be accountable. We can make better choices. And so, yeah, that's it. That's all. I feel like you don't want a temporary pleasure to cost you to stay stuck in a cycle. You don't want it to cost you your birthright. You don't want it to waste time, because time is the one thing you can't get back. So think about that. The next time you feel tempted, the next time you're trying to run away from the emotion that you feel and lean into God. I was listening to this song earlier today by Chandler Morris called "He Understands," because I'm so grateful for Jesus so much more as I've been studying more in the Word. It's like, oh, he walked through the same thing. He trusted God the same way. He's fully God and fully man, so he had to be led by the Spirit, he is the Spirit. I don't want people to try to get technical, he is God. Jesus is God, yes. But I'm saying we serve a high priest who also understands everything that we feel. He felt it too. So don't think that you are too far gone, you're too messed up. There's so many stories in the Bible of people who tried and failed, who God redeemed, who God still used. Wherever you are, there's somebody that's related that can relate to you. And so if this episode, I'm sorry it was all over the place, but if this episode spoke to you in any way, you don't have to share it with me, but like it, leave a comment if you want, share it with your friend, somebody, just give them help them have a different perspective when it comes to vices and temptations, and maybe they thought that they were alone in this. So if this was a blessing to you, I hope that you share it with somebody else. But in the meantime, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Bree Fergie. You can subscribe to Let It Be the Podcast on all streaming platforms. I have Let It Be the Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, and I'll say Let It Be, it's so much more than just a podcast. We're a community. So if you're on Instagram, follow me on Instagram at Bree Fergie. But we have a group chat, and in the group chat, I started a Bible study. And so if you're not local, I live in Dallas, but if you're not local to Dallas and you want to get connected, you want to grow, you want to learn more. Right now we're walking through the book of Ephesians. And so it's every second and fourth Tuesday, and the link is in my bio. Join the group chat, join the conversation. I would love to have you. I want to do life. Let's do life together. Let's learn more about these stories. The Bible is it's tea, okay? We be looking at stuff online, these new reality shows. It's some ghetto stories in the Bible, okay? It's people doing things they just like us, just in a different time. So, but I'm enjoying this journey, and I want to help you, do the same thing. So if it's something that you're interested in, please, please, please join my small group on Instagram. It's called Let It Be a Group Chat. You can the link right in the my bio in the Instagram. So, yeah, but that's it. That's all. I also have a playlist called Let It Be the Playlist, and it has alternative music. So if you ain't trying to listen to the sex me down music like I mentioned earlier, add this playlist to your rotation. Just replace them toxic things with some more positive things, okay? But that's it. That's all. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Let It Be the Podcast. I'm your host, Bree Fergie. Sign up for all the things, newsletters, all that. Just stay locked in. But until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.